I'm Garrett. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Go ahead and like, subscribe, hit the notification icon, notified the next time I'm here for you on YouTube. Let's dive into melee combat for Walrus. Now, I've already done this tutorial a few times actually, and to be totally honest, because I just did it like 4 times and forgot to turn my microphone on. So we're gonna run through this hopefully much crisper and clearer for you. Here we go. When you do melee combat in Walrus, you're gonna need to have a model that is base to base with another model. So in this example, we're gonna have Earl with a sword and Jim, our returning hero from last time, now doomed victim. So Earl has a combat skill of 1, which means a D4, because when you're looking at the profiles in Walrus, when they have just a straight number on the profile with a skill, what that means is it's a dice chain. So a 1 is a D4, a 2 is a D6, a 3 is a D8, a 4 is a D10, a 5 is a D12, a 6 doesn't exist. Don't worry, there's also D20s, but we'll get there later. So Earl has a combat score of 0, absolutely nothing, nada. There's nothing available for him to roll there, just like how Jim had a ballistic skill of 0 last time. But he does have a feeble weapon. The combat weapon that he wants to use is a feeble weapon, so just like last time, he's gonna get to roll as if he had combat skill 1, so a D4. All right, so Earl's gonna roll that D4 and gets a 4. Lucky Earl, 25% chance. Very nice. That's a total success because when you look at the weapons again in melee, you need a 3-up to hit on most standard weapons in the game right now. That's ranged and melee. And that's going to change over time. As we get more powerful weapons, that number's going to go up. As we get weaker weapons, that number's going to go down. But a 3 is a partial success, and a 4, hey, great job, Earl, you got a 4. That's a total success. So we're going to go look at the total damage that this feeble weapon does. In which case, we have 2 points of damage coming at Jim. Poor Jim. Let's look at this from Jim's perspective. Jim's getting attacked by a feeble weapon and is being dealt 2 points of damage. So Jim has 2 choices. There is a chance, since Jim has no armor, there's no armor slowing him down, Jim could totally roll speed to try and mitigate that incoming damage by 1 point. But Jim's player is smart and realizes, oh, there's 2 points coming in, and Jim only has 1 hit point. So even if I did mitigate it by 1, I'd still take 1. Which means Jim's gonna go out either way. So Jim's player elects to just not bother with that roll because it's of no value right now. Jim just takes 2 points of damage and is immediately knocked out of the game, becomes defeated, fallen. We'll talk about defeated and fallen in another video. Let's talk at some other options that affect what's going on in melee combat. First of all, cover. If Jim has cover from Earl, which means there's like something in the way, like a wall. Go. Earl rolls at disadvantage. So anytime you're making a melee attack, if your target is in cover, you roll at disadvantage. If your model is at a higher point of elevation than your target, so if Earl is up on top of this building ledge looking down going, oh hey, look at that, a tasty Jim, he can totally drop down on Slim Jim and try and take him out. And Earl gets to roll with advantage because he's a higher elevation. The one thing not in this picture is that you actually end that attack with moving Earl to be base to base with Jim. The other thing to keep in mind too is that if your model that you're attacking has defense or has more hit points, that can change things too. Or if you're using a different weapon or you have a different combat skill. So let's look at some of those examples. We've got Earl fighting a totally different friend, Bob. Now, Earl has gone through some strength training and actually has a innate on the profile combat skill of 1. No longer needs to use a feeble weapon to roll a D4. What that now means is Earl's picked up a heavy melee weapon. So a heavy melee weapon, it deals 6 points of damage on a success and 3 points on a partial success, and it is a 3-up to succeed at all. So a 3 is a partial, 4-up is a total. And so we're gonna have a 25% chance to do a partial or a 25% chance to do a total success, right? So that's how the math comes out. But Earl's gonna roll, gets a 4 again. Lucky Earl. That brings us to Bob. Bob has 5 hit points and 3 points of defense because he's wearing heavy armor. Now Bob looks at this incoming attack and goes, wow, I sure hope my armor will cover this. Gets hit with 6 points, reduce it by 3 because he has 3 points of defense from the armor, brings a total of 3, goes, it did not cover all of this, and in a scream of pain takes 3 points of damage with a remainder of 2 hit points because 5 hit points minus 3 is 2. So Bob is still up, but in exquisite agony. Because Bob is wearing armor, he can't do that try and mitigate by 1 because he's wearing armor. That's only for unarmored defenders. So those are different ways to do melee attacks in Walrus right now. I'm having a lot of fun figuring out how this all works. And one of the things I'm experimenting with, right? So that's how it works now. But one of the things I'm experimenting with, and this is whether or not a model can be within like an inch or 2 inches and still do a melee attack. So I'm thinking like maybe if someone has a pole arm or a weapon that's super long, like maybe they can increase that so they don't have to be base to base. I'm also thinking maybe just the default is an inch. So then, you know, you can kind of fight over pieces of terrain that are an inch or thinner, like that wall we had in the example. And this has been Melee Combat for Walrus. I've been Garrett, and I hope to see you next time when we talk about Action Economy.